Habs Nation. There's a name buried inside what looks like a Carolina Hurricanes internal contract dispute that should be making every single Montreal Canadiens fan sit up straight and pay extremely close attention. Because hidden inside this story about a young defenseman caught between a franchise that may not fully trust him anymore and a trade market that hasn't yet crystallized is one of the most intriguing acquisition opportunities Kent Hughes could possibly encounter this late in the offseason. Alexander Nikishin. And before this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why this matters for Montreal. Let's establish who this player actually is, because the surface-level reading of the situation dramatically undersells the talent involved. Nikishin is 24 years old. He is a left-shot defenseman. He recorded 11 goals and 33 points in 81 regular season games last season, numbers that represent genuine offensive production from the blue line at an age where most defensemen are still fighting to earn consistent NHL minutes. He was considered a future blue line star for the Carolina Hurricanes after his NHL debut generated exactly the kind of excitement that franchises build long-term plans around. At his peak projection, scouts across the league viewed him as a potential top-pairing defenseman capable of driving offense and eating significant minutes against quality competition. Alexander Nikishin, Carolina Hurricanes defenseman, and now he is a restricted free agent, ineligible for an offer sheet, sitting at the center of a contract dispute with a franchise that appears uncertain about his long-term role, while his playoff performance raised questions that his regular season production should not have generated. This is a kind of situation that separates general managers who identify value from general managers who simply react to the obvious. The playoff numbers, 1 point in 17 games, look alarming in isolation. They require the same contextual analysis that serious evaluation demands. Carolina's defensive core is one of the deepest and most structurally sophisticated in the entire NHL. Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Jacob Slavin. The Hurricanes have accumulated defensive talent at a level that creates genuine lineup complexity, meaning a 24-year-old defenseman navigating his first extended playoff run can find his minutes and his role diminished not because of individual failure, but because of organizational depth decisions that have nothing to do with his ultimate ceiling. The diminished playoff role is concerning enough to explain why Carolina is exploring the trade market. It is not concerning enough to dismiss Nikishin as a prospect who has already reached his ceiling and disappointed. Those are two entirely different conclusions, and conflating them would be a significant analytical error. Now here's where this story takes a turn that should make every Habs fan's pulse accelerate. The Hurricanes are reportedly considering packaging Nikishin with Jesperi Kotkaniemi to move the latter's $4.82 million cap hit off their books. Read that sentence slowly and carefully, because it contains an extraordinary amount of information about the leverage dynamics in this negotiation. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is a name that resonates with Montreal's fan base in ways that are simultaneously painful and fascinating. The Hurricanes signed him to an offer sheet in August 2021, essentially stealing him from the Canadiens in one of the most audacious salary cap maneuvers of that era. Carolina believed they were acquiring a future second-line center with elite offensive upside. Instead, he tumbled down the depth chart, became a frequent healthy scratch, and did not play a single minute during the Hurricanes Stanley Cup run this past spring. He is 26 years old, a former first-round pick with the pedigree and the physical tools that once made him one of the most coveted young centers in the sport, carrying a $4.82 million cap hit that Carolina desperately wants removed from their books. A team willing to absorb that contract as part of a Nikishin acquisition package would be doing the Hurricanes an enormous financial favor, and that favor deserves to be reflected in a dramatically reduced asking price for the defenseman himself. Kent Hughes should be on the phone to Raleigh before this video finishes playing. Think about the Montreal angle on Kotkaniemi specifically, because it is more compelling than it initially appears. He was a Canadiens prospect. Martin St. Louis and his coaching staff understand his game intimately from the organizational context that preceded his departure. He is 26 years old, which means his development window is not closed. He has the size, the skating, and the hockey sense that once made him a genuinely exciting prospect. And those qualities do not disappear simply because a particular organizational structure failed to develop them properly. Would Kotkaniemi solve Montreal's second-line center problem with the same authority that Dylan Larkin or Kirill Marchenko would? Absolutely not. That is not the point. The point is that accepting his contract as part of a package to acquire Nikishin could dramatically reduce what the Canadiens need to surrender in prospects and picks, while simultaneously adding a defensive asset whose ceiling remains genuinely intriguing, and a forward who might rediscover something of his earlier promise in an environment that understands him better than Carolina ever did. The salary cap math deserves attention because it matters for how Hughes structures his offseason priorities. Kotkaniemi's $4.82 million hit is manageable within Montreal's cap structure, particularly given the team-friendly contracts that the core players signed during the rebuild. It does not create the kind of long-term commitment that would compromise future flexibility. It is a calculated, short-term absorption of a problematic contract in exchange for offensive talent that the open market cannot provide at any price. Nikishin's contract situation creates a different kind of complexity. He lacks arbitration rights and cannot sign an offer sheet, which means Carolina holds all the structural leverage in the negotiation. But structural leverage and practical leverage are different things. A franchise sitting on $9.88 million in cap space with a young defenseman who publicly said the trade rumors are normal and seems genuinely calm about the uncertainty of the situation is not a franchise operating from a position of maximum strength. They need to resolve this before training camp. The clock is running, and every day that passes without resolution increases the pressure to accept a package that closes a deal rather than holding out for an ideal return that may never materialize. That time pressure is precisely the kind of market condition that patient, well-resourced general managers exploit effectively. Hughes has demonstrated throughout this offseason that he will not be rushed into transactions that don't meet his evaluation standards. He has also demonstrated that when the right opportunity presents itself at the right price, he moves with conviction and executes the deal before the market shifts. The Nikishin situation, with its embedded complexity around Kotkaniemi's contract, the Hurricanes' cap pressure, and the limited trade market for a restricted free agent whose playoff performance created questions, is exactly the kind of multi-layer negotiation where Hughes' analytical approach and organizational patience create genuine competitive advantage. The defensive profile Nikishin brings to the conversation also fits Montreal's organizational needs with uncomfortable precision. Left shot, puck-moving defenseman, 24 years old, proven regular season offensive production, elite skating, the ability to drive transition, and contribute on the power play. These are the qualities that complement what the Canadiens already have on the right side with Noah Dobson, and what they're developing at every level of the system. The big-picture question for Habs Nation is this. In a summer where every major acquisition attempt has been complicated by asking prices, competing suitors, public denials, and market uncertainty, is Alexander Nikishin the shrewd, under-the-radar move that reframes Montreal's entire defensive ceiling without surrendering the premium assets that Marchenko or Larkin would demand? Or does this feel like settling, like accepting a consolation prize, a position of relative organizational strength, while the real needs at second-line center remain unaddressed? Here is the honest answer that the most serious version of this analysis produces. These are not mutually exclusive moves. Acquiring Nikishin does not prevent Hughes from continuing to pursue a second-line center. It adds defensive depth and long-term upside at a position where depth and long-term thinking matter. It potentially removes Kotkaniemi's contract from Carolina's books in exchange for a dramatically reduced acquisition cost. And it continues the pattern of organizational asset accumulation that has made Montreal one of the most envied prospect pipelines in the sport. The Hurricanes have a problem they need to solve before training camp. The Canadiens have the assets, the cap space, and the analytical framework to offer them a solution. That alignment of interests does not guarantee a deal, but it creates the conditions for a genuine conversation. And genuine conversations are where Kent Hughes has consistently demonstrated his most impressive work. So, Habs Nation, the question that should be burning in your mind right now is direct and urgent. Should Kent Hughes call Raleigh, absorb Kotkaniemi's contract, acquire Alexander Nikishin, and add a 24-year-old puck-moving defenseman to a blue line that is already one of the most exciting in the Eastern Conference? Or does the playoff performance concern, the Kotkaniemi baggage, and the unresolved second-line center need make this the wrong move at the wrong time? Drop your answer in the comments below because this debate deserves every voice in this community. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in because the off-season is running out of days and Kent Hughes is not done working. We are in this together, Habs Nation. Through every calculated risk and every bold decision on the road, the Stanley Cup number 25. Go Habs go.